make a little recording here, so everything we say is going to be recorded, so it gives you a reference point. Yeah,
that's great. So I can see this back after. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you a little YouTube link. So there's a couple of things that we know as opposed to what we thought we knew previously, and you know, video is good. Yes, I agree with that. But these days with 3D, that's even better. And I get to work with some pretty cool people on and off the golf course when we talk about that. So there's a few things that we need to discuss over time, right?
Big move away.
Yeah. So when you start talking about using the ground a little bit more efficiently, there's going to be too much pressure in your right foot, right? So there's going to be too much pressure there, which then we start to get that disconnect in your shoulders, and you start to internally rotate your shoulders. Okay. So then we change radiuses all the time, right, in regards to now the contact point essentially is going to be there. So this wonderful decision maker up here, your brain, then starts to work out, well, how the hell do I get back there again? Okay. So, and mind you, in 2/100ths of a second from the top of your backswing to impact. So it's not a great deal of time to do much, right? So the disconnect then starts to become with what muscles are activated through your scapula and lower traps and those types of things. Okay. And that starts from address, and that keeps on working on those types of things. So, you know, in my world, I'm going to get you to put a little bit more pressure on that left foot, which is going to be completely contrary to what we got taught when we were younger.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we start to use horizontal forces that are pushing this way and this way in your feet. So I do a little party trick with a lot of my elite players in particular, where I get them to stand on removalist pads, so they slide around,
right,
and they start to work out that their feet go all over the place, and that's generally speaking where your feet go. So we're pushing against the ground.
Yeah.
So if you sit on a swivel chair and take your feet off the ground and put your arms out in front of you and rotate, your hips will go the opposite way. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're just using the ground a little bit more. So if we push in the ground and get both feet working, well, then we're going to be using the ground a little bit more efficiently.
Okay.
And then therefore creating a nice little force coupling, and we won't need to move on and off the golf ball as much as what you do.
Yeah, wow, okay.
If that makes sense. So then we start to then try and get back there. Now you're trying to hit down on the golf ball, and due to what's happening with the upper half here, so from here up, when you start to see it round out and your head go down, and from the other angle, you know, parallel to the ground, right? So when it does that, it's not going to keep on rotating at the same time. So therefore you've started a weight at the end of a golf club here that doesn't have any brakes on it, and this is slowing down too quickly.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
So I understand where the previous gentleman was coming from, but there's a bit more to do with that than just impact and post-impact.
Sure.
You try and spin out of it, and you're going to hit it everywhere.
That's what
you're going to shank
happening.
it, top it. You're going to do a whole weird and wonderful myriad of different things. So, from my aspect, we're going to achieve a little bit better impact, but we're going to start to get some muscles activated. So, two things will happen. You start to practice a lot, and you're going to get so stiff in your neck that it's going to start hurting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
and that's the last thing that I want.
Sure.
Okay, because we love to practice, right? And we want to get better that way. But if you kept on practicing a lot with that movement pattern, it's probably not going to be that great for you.
That's amazing. I didn't know I was that horizontal.
Okay. So then we see the foot off the ground and really early, so the right heel almost exclusively comes off the ground. It's a little difficult to see over here because of our sun outside, but you'll start to see the heel come off the ground almost halfway down. So we're still not pushing against the ground, right? We're just not using the ground as well as what we could.
Yeah, okay.
And that's where the head goes down, your shoulders roll out or internally rotate, and then we start to see that club flip over or unload early, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
It's a bit graphic when you start to see it, right?
Yeah.
So
it always shocks you when you see it.
Yeah. It always shocks us into something that we need to do. So in my world, once again, I'm only going to work on that muscle activation and some pitch shots and getting you understanding what that feels like at impact.
Great.
And then slowly but surely build it up into a full swing.
Okay. Yeah, no,
so you're going to feel like you cannot swing it as far as what you would like to, but we're going to transfer the energy a little bit more effectively.
Okay.
So in other words, when you start to look at the TrackMan data, it's the club head speed is not bad. We could probably knock that up another 2.5 miles an hour, something like that. But more importantly, the ball speed is not great in relationship to, it's not coming out of the center. you can feel that it's a groove and a half, 2 grooves too low.
Yeah, really.
We're just not generating the ball speed. So this doesn't have to change, but this will change by just catching it out of the centre, as you already know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So when we're talking path, and as I said, you're actually hitting down on it. It's just not the way we'd like it to.
Yeah, okay.
But because you're so far behind it and you stopped and stalled your body because of your neck and your mid-thoracic activation, for want of a better term, that's why it's not coming out the way you'd like it to, and not feeling and sounding the way you want it to, right?
So see, when you drew here and you had the line that was sort of 3 inches behind the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that first movement, is that then causing a almost a slide?
Well, it'll look like a lateral slide because you've laterally moved off it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
sure.
So when we start to get into, and I guess I can talk to you a little bit differently because of your background, but we have 2 axes, yeah. Mm-hmm. We've got belly button roughly and sternum roughly. Now we're trying to line those axes up at the top of your backswing and make sure that they're on top of each other.
Yeah.
And then on the way down, we'll have that move that way, the bottom axis move forward, because we're trying to push and get pressure moving that way.
Yeah.
So essentially, you'll push it forward, your knee will still be flexed, and then you'll push up out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay? So you'll push down and then up. I know it sounds really strange, but you'll push that way, and the hip will go forward, and then all of a sudden you'll push up.
Sure.
So then you have, once again, for whatever better term, opposing forces. You've got this going up, and you've got a club head going down, and then we have a massive impact.
Sure.
Collision then becomes much more effective.
Yeah, okay. Great.
Hence the reason why we're hitting it further and things like that, because we know these details a little bit more.
Yeah.
So without confusing the absolute bejesus out of you, all I want is this stuff working a little bit harder for longer.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you've got rotational force and creating the speed that you do, you've roughly got probably somewhere in the vicinity of 30 to 35 kilograms of rotational force at the end of a golf club.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a lot, and that's a lot if these aren't working the way we want it to.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple of little drills that'll scare the hell out of you, and get you working hard. Okay, and it just involves TheraBand, so stretchy band that we'll start to work those muscles that we want to work, and then we'll hit a shot. And the way you practice is 5 to 10 shots tops.
Really, yeah.
And then go back and do those motor pattern drills.
Wow, okay. That's brilliant.
And then that's the way I work with every elite player.
Wow, I've never done something like that before. That's
we start. I'm lucky because, as I said, I've got the QAS trainer that works out of my house. So the Queensland Academy of Sport, he only works with our golfers.
Brilliant.
So, and the 3D and the physiotherapists and the sports scientists. It's a lot of fun working with those guys. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's
right.
great.